So last night I was finally able to see Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. It seems like every other press market out there had their press screening for the film 9 days ago. In Austin, we just had it last night, 1 day before the movie released. It is what it is, but today I'm heading out to San Antonio, where I'm pretty sure I'm going to see the movie in a theater where Tom Cruise is going to show up. But to that point, I haven't been able to shoot a full review for this movie, but I did talk about it on the news this morning. So this is gonna have my quick thoughts, my overview thoughts on the movie, but I will be back tomorrow, having seen the movie 2 times with my full review. I'll probably make that a spoiler-free and spoiler review at the exact same time to dive into all the details. But if you want to know my general feelings on the movie, here you go.
Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning hits theaters this weekend. In fact, this is the last, maybe the last Mission Impossible movie we get with Tom Cruise. I have no idea. I haven't seen it, but there's a guy who loves to talk about movies and TV way too much, who has seen it, saw it last night. That is Sean Chandler. Sean, thanks for coming on. We haven't, you and I, we have not talked about the movie. I don't think as of this point, as of this recording, you have made a public statement how you feel about The Final Reckoning of Mission Impossible.
No, this is an exclusive. You are hearing my thoughts about the film first.
Okay, so I want to put this out there. This is on your top 5 movies of the year for you to watch, or is it the #1 movie of the year for you to see?
It would definitely not be my #1 movie of the year. It would be pretty high up there. It's of our Mission Impossible movies, the stakes and the scope is bigger than it's ever been before. The stunts are insane. The plane sequence, some of the stuff, the trailers don't do it justice when you watch this in a theater. It's pulling together a bunch of different things about the movie, about the franchise together. But, I have to say,
no,
it's probably also the clunkiest of our Mission Impossible films.
Don't say that. This is my favorite movie franchise, Sean. This is my. I don't think.
I know.
It's never failed me.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying that at all.
Okay.
You're talking about a franchise that the standard's very high, and the first hour or so of this movie is a lot of like trying to mash some pieces together. They're trying to tell a story that's bigger and more global than ever before. They're trying to make all these ties to previous films. They're trying to have their own thrilling, exciting film in and of itself. And because of that, there's just all of these moving parts that it takes a long time to get going. And there's so many flashbacks, kind of all throughout the entire film. And the most obvious kind of example of what I talk about when it being clunky is it feels like there's a whole subplot with Luther that was almost cut out of the film in the first half of it, where they just really needed the plot to get going. And so they took this bit about Luther and really shrunk it down and then turned it into flashbacks all throughout the film. And it feels like you're missing something, like you just hop into it and you're like, what's going on with Luther here? Very strange the way that it plays out. And I could only assume that they reworked the movie quite a bit to try and tighten it up so it wasn't 3.5 hours long. When it gets going, it's as good as you want it to be. By the time it ends, it's as satisfying as you want it to be. And to be perfectly clear, the movie delivers everything you want it to deliver. With the insane stunts, the action, the thrills. You're on the edge of your seat, maybe more in this movie than any other Mission Impossible film, because the threat and the scope and the size of it is so big on grand scale, on the personal level. They build drama, conflict in every situation so well. Like, you're on the edge of your seat. It has everything that you want it to have, but it's also a more obviously flawed film than the vast majority of these films. Be perfectly clear, I would say all of them except for 2 are really good to awesome.
Scenes, we get to this spot where we're finally, the death-defying, we basically are paying Tom Cruise tons of money to try to kill himself. Are these the best stunts that they've ever done in the Mission Impossible franchise? Because, I mean, him hanging off the Burj Khalifa in Ghost Protocol, I still love that scene so much.
Yeah. I mean, as for just a sequence, I think that the tower is the best sequence because it's just so funny and it's shot so well.
Yeah.
As for just pure insanity, this plane sequence It is wild. He's hanging on the outside of a prop plane by a cord. I mean, it is wild and crazy. So, I mean, that is, in terms of just like, oh my goodness, Tom, you're insane. I think that's as big as you can get until he's hanging off of a spaceship or something like that. But as for just a sequence, the tower in Ghost Protocol, that's the best sequence I've ever seen in a theater. So almost no movie can top that for me. I saw that in IMAX, and this was incredible too. But that tower sequence is just amazing.
And if you want to know, is this the last Mission Impossible movie, or did they leave themselves some room to continue going on in the future? Simple answer to the question is the movie is designed to thematically close out this journey, that you just can't imagine how they could go bigger after this. And because it is kind of pulling these plot threads from all these previous movies, it feels like a really good book into the entire saga. So it lands like a completely satisfying finale, but they also tried to not close any doors. They tried to give them as much room as possible so that they can do more in the future if they decide that they want to. And some of that's just kind of built into the franchise, that the team can always change. You can always recruit more people. So there was always room to continue on. And the movie ends on a note where you're like, okay, if this is the end, that's a good, satisfying finale. If you want to keep on going forward, they've made it pretty obvious that they can find a way to do that pretty easily with where things end.
All right, so it's the clunkiest of the films. I always thought the second movie is the worst one out of the bunch. Just doesn't fit. I feel like the rest of them all fit pretty good together. Yeah. Where would you place this if you had to quickly rank it?
It would be on the bottom half of my ranking. But keep in mind, besides number 2, like you just said, I think all of them are great. So you could be number 6 on my Mission Impossible ranking and still be a very good movie. And that's kind of the situation that we're talking about here, where the pieces are pretty odd to try and force them together, but it has a cohesiveness, more so than maybe any other film, of just pulling things together. And so that's one thing that kind of elevates it, of this feeling of all these little plot points from movies that we haven't followed up on, this little character that we haven't mentioned in forever. All of it pulls together, and it has this very emotional send-off of like the satisfaction of the team coming together, the films coming together. It has all of that.
Okay.
But in order to move all those pieces into place, it is a pretty exposition, talk-heavy first hour of the film.
I'm okay with that. I don't care. I'm happy. I got tickets seeing it Saturday. I know you have a chance to see Tom Cruise tonight. I hope that happens.
Yeah.
You're going to have to let us know. We're going to bring you back, though, for Lilo and Stitch review in our 7 o'clock hour on Fox 58.
Sounds perfect.
All right.
I can't wait to Tom Cruise hunt this afternoon.
Tom Cruise hunt is on. Sean Chandler, thanks for coming on this morning.